This is just gospel according to Janelle.
The night the episode aired, everything felt different. Even before a single frame flashed across the screen, there was a heaviness in the air, a tension vibrating like a wire pulled too tight. The Brown family had lived through years of drama, years of conflict, years of spin and excuses and half-truths packaged neatly into confessionals. But nothing had prepared them for this episode. This wasn't a disagreement. This wasn't an emotional moment. This wasn't even a dramatic fight. It was something deeper, something darker, something the audience had only ever sensed but never fully seen. For years, viewers picked up the patterns, the tone, the controlling bursts, the subtle shifts. They saw glimpses, reflections, edited fragments of a man caught between his wives, his ego, and the image he desperately tried to maintain. But this episode was different. Because this time, TLC didn't cut around the truth. They didn't soften it. They didn't blur the edges. They showed everything. It began with a cold open. No music, no smiles, no sunlight across the Arizona landscape. Just a stark camera shot of Kody standing alone in the kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter, breathing heavily. There was no context yet, no subtitles, no narrator. Only the slow, rhythmic thud of his fingers tapping the countertop. A sound so small, yet packed with anxiety. And when he finally spoke, his voice shook, not from sadness, but from frustration, anger simmering under the surface. "Nothing I do is enough. Nothing," he muttered, not realizing the mic was already hot. That one sentence, that tiny moment, it was enough to make the audience feel the seismic shift. This wasn't the polished patriarch they'd seen in interviews. This wasn't the man who defended his decisions with practiced calm. This was real Kody, raw, unraveling, unguarded. And the producers knew exactly what they had. When the title card finally appeared, viewers across the country leaned forward. Even casual watchers felt the gravity. Even people who hadn't kept up for years sensed something monumental was coming. Inside Robyn's house, the mood was starkly different. Kody and Robyn sat together, but not close, not touching. The distance between them was emotional, not physical, and it was widening with every passing second. Robyn's hands trembled as she held the remote. Kody stared at the screen, jaw tight, barely blinking. "They won't show everything," Robyn whispered, almost hopeful. "Right? They'll cut some of it. They have to." Kody didn't respond. When the first meltdown clip played, Robyn crying, her voice cracking as she begged producers to stop filming, Kody felt something sink inside him. Because the next shot wasn't her breakdown, it wasn't her panic, it wasn't her tears. It was him. Kody, pacing the room, ranting about loyalty, betrayal, stress. His face flushed, his hands animated, his voice raised in frustration. The camera didn't cut away. They didn't soften his tone. They didn't mute his outburst. They showed it exactly as it happened. And for the first time, Kody saw himself as the audience did. It was awkward, jolting, exposing. Robyn gasped once, smaller than small. "Oh no, oh no, no." Kody's jaw clenched. "They edited this to make me look angry," he snapped. Robyn shook her head. "Kody, you were angry." He didn't respond. Meanwhile, across town, Christine watched the episode with quiet stillness. She knew what was coming. She'd lived it. She'd felt the emotional currents shift long before cameras caught up. But seeing it now, seeing it played back without filters or protection, felt surreal. She wasn't celebrating, she wasn't gloating at this. She was simply seeing the truth finally being allowed to exist. Janelle watched too, her sons flanking her, their expressions heavy. They didn't say anything at first, they didn't need to. The footage spoke for them. For years, they'd been dismissed as disrespectful, as rebellious, as difficult. But here, in these unedited moments, viewers finally saw what they had lived through. The following scene spread like lightning on the internet. Robyn had whispered, "Please don't air this. Please, it ruins everything." And Kody snapped back, "You're making it worse. Stop crying." The silence in the room was deafening, on screen and in real-time homes across America. Viewers felt their stomachs drop. This wasn't marital tension, this was emotional collapse captured in high definition. Worse yet came moments later, when Kody, not realizing the camera still rolled, muttered to one off-camera producer, "I'm tired of coddling her. Everybody expects me to fix her emotionally. I'm done." There it was. The sentence that blew the internet up. The moment that turned lifelong fans into instant critics. The line that tore apart whatever remained of sympathy toward him. Inside Robyn's house, she froze, her breath hitched. She slowly turned to him, her eyes welling up with tears, not soft tears, but the tears of shock, of betrayal, of humiliation. "You said that?" she whispered. Kody swallowed hard. "I didn't know I was being recorded." "So you did say it?" she cried. He didn't answer, but his silence said it all. On social media, reactions exploded instantly. Kody finally outed himself. This is who he really is. Robyn wasn't being manipulative. This was actual fear. So this is why the wives left. Hashtags exploded, memes poured in, even celebrities tweeted about the episode. It was the biggest reaction the series had gotten in years. When the episode cut to confessionals, the damage worsened. Robyn tried to explain her panic, but viewers only saw fragile desperation, something they hadn't seen in her before. Kody's confessional, however, sealed his fate. His attempt to justify his anger came off defensive, disjointed, deflective. Viewers no longer bought it. The spell was broken. Then Christine appeared, calm, grounded, free. She didn't attack him. She didn't blame him. She simply said, "Sometimes the truth has to be seen before it can be understood." Janelle's confessional was brief but powerful. You can't build trust when fear is the foundation. Meri chimed in quietly. "We all carry scars the audience never saw. Until now." Those 3 sentences became the backbone of the episode's impact. Back in Robyn's home, she whispered, "They're all going to blame me. They're all going to think I'm the reason he snapped." Kody stared at the screen, voice low. "No, they're going to blame me." He finally comprehended. It didn't damage his reputation either. It annihilated it. And when the credits rolled, the silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. Kody sat back slowly, eyes distant, mind racing. For the first time in years, maybe ever, he looked genuinely afraid. Around the nation, millions concurred on one thing only. Kody Brown's reputation didn't just crack. It collapsed. In one episode. Kody didn't sleep the night the episode aired. He sat in the dark long after Robyn had retreated into the bedroom, long after the kids had slipped quietly upstairs, long after the social media firestorm took on a life of its own. He stared into the cold glow of the television screen, watching the reflections flicker across the empty living room. It was the first time in years he seemed truly alone. Alone without the wives, without the cameras, without the structure of plural marriage propping him up. Alone with the version of himself he had spent so long avoiding. His phone buzzed relentlessly. Hundreds of notifications, missed calls, texts from friends, from estranged children, from producers. He couldn't bring himself to open any of them. He already knew what they contained: disappointment, anger, shock, confusion, and worst of all, truth. Around 3 a.m., the house finally went silent. No more footsteps, no more muffled crying from behind the bedroom door, no more frantic pacing from room to room. But silence didn't comfort him. It amplified everything. Every mistake, every moment of unchecked anger, every justification he'd given himself, every sentence he wished he could take back. Especially that one. "I'm sick of pampering her." It was an echo in his mind, a taunt, a confession he had never meant to make. Across town, the wives were having very different nights. Christine slept easily, not because she didn't care, but because she had already done the work of letting go. Janelle slept restlessly, torn between grief and validation, knowing the episode would reignite old wounds for her children. Meri sat awake for hours, replaying her own memories in the quiet, remembering moments the world never saw, moments that had shaped her long before the cameras arrived. The next morning began with repercussions. Real ones, public ones, the kind that couldn't be spun in confessionals. Kody's name was trending in every corner of the internet, not with sympathy, not with praise, not with excuses, but with bold statements from viewers who felt they had finally witnessed the truth. It's all out there now. This is the real Kody. How could these wives live like this for so long? Christine walked away from this man. Respect. Robyn wasn't the villain. He was. His mask finally cracked. By noon, reaction videos were everywhere. TikTokers dissecting his tone, therapists commenting on the emotional dynamics, YouTubers analyzing the body language, podcasters breaking down the episode frame by frame. The meltdown had become national conversation, not because of the drama, but because of what it revealed. Kody avoided his phone entirely, but Robyn didn't. She sat at the kitchen table with swollen eyes, scrolling through comment after comment, torturing herself with every word. She wanted to stop. She wanted to throw the phone across the room, but she couldn't look away. The public was seeing her in ways she never intended. Raw, frantic, emotionally exposed. She whispered, "They think I made him angry. They think this is my fault." Kody flinched. "Robyn, don't start." "It is my fault, isn't it?" she snapped, voice trembling. "You looked at me like you hated me, like I caused everything." Kody rubbed his face. "I didn't hate you. I was just stressed." "Stressed enough to call me a burden?" she asked quietly. He froze. That was the one line he'd hoped she wouldn't bring up again. Robyn wiped her face with her sleeve, eyes glistening. "You said you were tired of coddling me, that I rely on you too much, that you were done." "I didn't know the camera was rolling," he snapped. "So you didn't mean it?" she shot back. Silence. There it was again. This silence saying it all. Kody exhaled loudly. "I was angry. I was overwhelmed." Angry at me? He didn't deny it. Later that day, TLC released a statement. Not long, not apologetic, but enough to inflame the situation. "We stand by the authenticity of what was aired." That sentence sent Kody spiraling. Authenticity, as if his worst moment was the truest version of him, as if everything else he'd said over the years was an act, a performance, a carefully controlled narrative. In that moment, he realized something he had tried desperately to avoid. He did not have the story in his own hands anymore. For a decade, he had shaped how the public saw him. He had guided the cameras, guided the wives' stories, guided the editing through confessionals. But now, the truth had slipped out, and no amount of damage control could put it back behind the curtain. Meanwhile, the kids of the Browns were in their own storm. One child texted another, "Are you seeing this? It's everywhere." Another added, "Dad finally got exposed." A third replied, "This episode shows exactly what we've been trying to explain." Some were angry, some were relieved, some were conflicted, torn between loyalty and personal truth. But nearly all of them agreed on one thing. The episode wasn't exaggerated, it wasn't manipulated, it wasn't unfair. It was true. One of the older daughters texted Janelle privately, "I always hoped he'd see himself the way we did. Maybe now he will." But deep down, Janelle wasn't sure he would. Christine received messages from strangers thanking her for her courage. Fans sent long paragraphs saying the episode validated what she'd been trying to express for years. She responded to none of them. She didn't need praise. She had long since moved past the need for external validation. But she read every message, and she felt the shift. For years, people doubted her version of events. They questioned her emotional reactions. They suspected exaggeration or bitterness. But with one episode, those doubts evaporated. Her story made sense now. It was in context. Early that afternoon, Kody made his first attempt to reclaim control. He called one of the producers he trusted most. "We need to talk about the episode," he insisted. The producer exhaled. "Kody, the episode is out already. I want to film a follow-up confessional," he demanded. "Something to explain my side. You always at." "We don't owe you anything," the producer said calmly. "And the network isn't filming additional confessionals at this time." Kody was stunned. For the first time, the producer wasn't accommodating him. He wasn't bending. He wasn't treating Kody like the center of the show. "We're focusing on authenticity now. The audience wants transparency." Kody's voice fell to a dangerous whisper. "My reputation is being ruined." The producer replied evenly, "People are reacting to what they saw, not what we scripted." That sentence had been heavier than any other thing. Meanwhile, Robyn fought another fear: loss of sympathy, loss of the mask she'd worn so carefully, loss of the narrative in which she was misunderstood. For years, she had leaned on tears and vulnerability as a way to soften her role in the family dynamics. But viewers were starting to see her through new eyes, not as malicious, but as an emotional hurricane that Kody didn't know how to navigate. She whispered to herself over and over, "People hate me now. They hate me." Her daughter tried comforting her, but Robyn's fear wasn't about the public alone. It was about the shift happening inside the family. The wives no longer protect her. The kids no longer tiptoed around her. The producers no longer shaped her image to be sympathetic. She had lost her shield. Into the late afternoon, news outlets reported the story. Kody Brown's meltdown sends social media into frenzy. Viewers shocked at unfiltered episode. Did TLC protect Kody all along? Christine Brown reacts to explosive footage. And the most devastating headline of all: Kody's reputation may never recover. That one made Kody stop breathing for a moment. He'd always gotten by on the idea that charisma would carry him, that he could talk his way out of conflict, that viewers would give him the benefit of the doubt. But charisma doesn't fix what cameras have already shown. It wasn't until the sun had set that he finally opened the group chat with his older children. Dozens of their messages came flooding in, some angry, some sad, some unexpectedly gentle, but one cut deeper than all the rest. "Dad, now do you understand why we pulled away?" He stared at that message for a long while. He had no reply. Robyn came to him softly, eyes swollen from hours of crying. "What are we going to do?" Kody didn't immediately respond, because for the first time in his life, he didn't have a plan. He didn't have an explanation. He didn't have an exit. He said only one thing: "I don't know." And he meant it, because part 3 is where the backlash grows. The wives speak publicly, and Kody begins to realize that his downfall didn't happen in one episode. It was only finally apparent. The third day after the episode aired was when everything truly changed. The initial shock had worn off, but the momentum of the fallout only grew stronger. This wasn't a passing scandal. It wasn't a flare-up of online drama. It was a reckoning, and every hour that passed brought fresh consequences for Kody in ways he never imagined. When he stepped outside early that morning to get the mail, he noticed something unusual. His neighbors avoided eye contact. Two of them, who used to wave at him or stop to chat about trivial things, quickly turned away and hurried back inside. It wasn't overt hostility. It was discomfort, embarrassment, pity, a silent acknowledgement of something shameful now out in the open. Kody felt it right away. When he returned inside, Robyn was sitting at the table, scrolling through her phone again, even though she had promised herself she wouldn't. Her eyes were red, her jaw tight, her breathing shallow. She looked up at him with a mixture of fear and accusation. "It's getting worse," she whispered. Kody rubbed his temples. What now? She turned the screen toward him. Fan pages, entertainment channels, even mainstream media outlets were now using terms like verbal aggression, emotional manipulation, and pattern of behavior to describe what viewers witnessed in the episode. Psychologists were giving commentary. Analysts were breaking it down like it was a political scandal. "They're calling you abusive," she said softly, voice cracking. "They don't know me," he snarled. "Maybe they think they do now," she whispered back. Her words weren't meant to cut, but they landed deep, too deep. Meanwhile, across the country, the wives were experiencing a very different kind of day. Their phones were flooded too, but with support, validation, messages thanking them for their honesty and strength. Christine woke up to dozens of tags, clips of her confessional moment where she talked about freedom and truth. Fans praised her composure. They shared her quotes. They called her a survivor. But none of this made her gloat. She didn't smile in victory. She didn't revel in anyone's embarrassment. With quiet contemplation, she sat there, absorbing the shifting tide. She murmured to herself, "It's never about him falling. It's about us finally standing." Janelle wasn't celebrating either. She watched as people dissected Kody's behavior, some saying they finally understood her frustration, others apologizing for doubting her. She appreciated the compassion, but it reopened old wounds she had long since stitched closed. Watching the episode again, watching the world react, brought back memories of tension, fear, and emotional strain she had buried to survive. Her son Logan called her with a voice that sounded heavier than usual. "Mom, I didn't realize how bad it looked from the outside." Janelle sighed. "It was worse from the inside." First, Logan didn't say anything. Then he said, "I'm glad you got out when you did." That sentence filled her eyes, not because of sadness, but of just relief. Meri, meanwhile, experienced something she didn't expect. People asking if she was okay. For years, viewers criticized her, misunderstood her, judged her through edited scenes that didn't show the whole truth. But now everything made sense. People were finally connecting the dots. They were finally seeing the structure she had been trapped inside. She received a message from a stranger that read, "You deserved better than what we saw in that episode." She stared at it long before she whispered, "Yes, I did." And yet, even with all this empathy flowing toward the wives, something darker was taking shape in the fandom. A collective realization, a sense of betrayal. Not because the wives left, but because they stayed as long as they did. Viewers would say things like, "Why weren't we told this sooner? How much did TLC hide? How many episodes edited to protect him? Did we ever see the real Kody?" The internet was beginning to understand. This wasn't a one-time explosion. This was a pattern, a reality that had been edited around for years. That afternoon, TLC held an emergency internal meeting. Not because of the backlash, public outrage was normal for reality TV, but because of the unprecedented clarity the episode provided. It didn't just expose Kody's anger, it exposed their editorial decisions, their protection of him, their narrative shaping. A staff member reportedly said, "We opened Pandora's box. There's no going back." Meanwhile, Kody and Robyn were still spiraling. At noon, Kody finally opened one message from a producer he once considered a friend. It said simply, "You have to remember that the audience is seeing what we have seen for several years." Kody threw his phone onto the couch. "I'm being ambushed," he muttered. "They've turned everyone against me." Robyn flinched. "Kody, this isn't an ambush. This is just what happened." He glared at her. "You're taking their side now?" Her voice shook. "I'm taking reality's side." That line has left him speechless. For the first time, someone inside his inner circle wasn't cushioning his ego, wasn't soothing him, wasn't rewriting events to ease his guilt. Robyn's hands shook. "I'm tired, Kody. I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of pretending the marriage is perfect." Kody stared, speechless. The one wife who always defended him was finally cracking. She wiped her eyes. "I told you they would blame me, but they aren't. They're blaming you. And I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to protect you from this." Her honesty wasn't soft. It wasn't comforting. It was terrified. That evening, something unexpected happened. Christine posted a simple TikTok, just her cooking dinner, smiling, laughing with her daughter. No mention of the episode, no drama, no commentary. But the comments section exploded. "You deserve this peace. You look so happy now. He ruined his reputation, and you rebuilt your life. You won." Christine didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her delight was the response. At the same time, Janelle did an Instagram Live with a small update about her day. Someone asked about the episode in the comments. She paused for a long moment before saying, "I hope the people who needed to see it saw it." That became an instant viral clip. But the moment that truly rocked the internet came from one of Kody's older sons. He posted a short video on social media, a rare move. He didn't attack anyone, he didn't name names. He simply said, "That episode wasn't shocking to us. We lived it." 6 words. 6 words that carried years of suppressed truth. Kody saw the clip and felt his heart drop. His greatest fear wasn't the wives turning. It wasn't the fans mocking him. It wasn't even TLC shifting the narrative. It was his children opting for honesty over loyalty. Late that night, Robyn said quietly, "You need to talk to them." Kody shook his head. "They don't want to hear from me." She nodded. "Not right now, but they need to know you heard them." Kody stared at the wall in silence. It suddenly hit him. The episode didn't break his reputation. It just uncovered what was already shattered. And the wives? They had already moved on. The children? They had already accepted the truth. The public? They had turned the page. Only Kody was still living in the version of the story where he believed he could fix everything. But some damage can't be undone. Some reputations don't get rebuilt. Some moments aren't forgotten. And that episode, that one unedited, unfiltered episode, had become the breaking point. But the next morning would bring even harsher consequences. Interviews, more leaks, fan petitions, TLC meetings, a shift inside the Brown family that couldn't be reversed. Because part 4 is where the world demands answers, the network steps in. The 4th day after the episode aired was the day everything became unavoidable. The first 3 days were shockwaves, powerful, disorienting, emotionally violent. But day 4 was the earthquake itself. It wasn't about reactions anymore. It was about consequences. Real consequences. The kind that forced everyone involved to confront the truth, whether they wanted to or not. Kody woke up to a flood of missed calls from TLC corporate. Not producers, not field staff, not editors. Corporate. The people he rarely interacted with. The people who held the future of the franchise in their hands. The people who didn't care about his feelings as much as they cared about public protection, legal protection, and brand survival. He did not want to call them back, but he knew he had no choice. Robyn watched him pace the living room, her arms wrapped around herself like a shield. She hadn't slept either. She looked smaller somehow, hunched, fragile, exhausted from carrying emotional weight she never expected to bear. She whispered, "What are they going to say?" Kody clenched his jaw. "They can't blame me for everything. They know the pressure I was under." But even he didn't sound convinced. He finally called TLC back. A woman from corporate answered, a voice he rarely recognized from rare contract discussions. "Kody, thank you for returning our call. We need to discuss the response to the episode." He swallowed. "I saw some of the reaction online. People are emotional." "This is bigger than emotional," she said sharply. "There is public concern regarding your behavior. We're seeing conversation about emotional volatility, gender dynamics, and unsafe power structures." He straightened rigidly. People misunderstood the context. She didn't soften. The footage was context. Silence. Something twisted inside Kody. That was a knife of a line. She continued, "We also need to address viewer feedback. We received thousands of emails within hours. Many were deeply concerned about what they witnessed." Kody's voice tightened. "Are you firing me?" "No one is being fired," she said carefully, "but changes are being discussed, structural changes." That word, structural, rattled him. What does that mean? Franchise adjustments, POV adjustments, potentially shifting the narrative away from a patriarchal framework. His heart sank. Away from me? Toward the wives, she clarified. Toward healing. Toward transparency. Toward accountability. He knew what accountability was. He knew exactly who they were referring to. Across the room, Robyn watched him, words making her eyes widen a bit more with every sentence. When he hung up, the room felt suffocating. Robyn whispered, "They're not taking the show away from you, are they?" He sat heavily. "They're taking control of it." In another part of town, Christine received a call of her own. TLC wanted to schedule a sit-down interview with her, one she would control, one not shaped by Kody's storyline. They wanted her perspective, her voice, her truth, something they never fully allowed her to express before. She hesitated, not because she feared speaking, but because she didn't want to reopen wounds she had already healed from. But when the producer told her, "We want to change the narrative," she paused. Change the narrative? It was the last thing she'd ever heard from them. She agreed. Janelle received a similar call. TLC wanted her take on the episode, specifically the moment the audience witnessed Kody's anger toward her sons. She knew the boys would never go on camera. She respected their boundaries. But she also knew she had a responsibility now, to give them the voice they didn't want to give themselves. She agreed too. Meanwhile, Meri was asked to participate in a retrospective episode, one focused on her long history in the family, her struggles, her resilience. For years, she was painted as the outsider, the problem, the detached one. But now the world saw a different story. For the first time, instead of critique, she was being given compassion. And she nodded in that direction. The shift had begun. Still, to Kody, the shift was desertion. Later that afternoon, he opened social media again, against his better judgment. The trending tags were relentless. Hashtag Kody exposed. Hashtag protect the wives. Hashtag we believe Christine. Emotional manipulation. Under each tag, thousands of comments dissected his behavior, his tone, his words. Clips circulated everywhere. Clips he didn't know the cameras caught. One went viral. A moment after the meltdown, when he rolled his eyes at Robyn while she cried. The internet did not forgive him for that. They called him cold, cruel, detached, self-centered. He threw the phone across the room, hard of breathing. Robyn flinched at the sound. She had been jumpy for days, her nerves stretched thin. She whispered, "Please just stop reading it. It's making everything worse." "You act like this is my fault," he snapped. She looked at him, her expression a mix of exhaustion and fear. "Kody, right now, it is." That cut deeper than anything else she'd said all week. While they imploded in private, something else happened across the Sister Wives fan community. A collective awakening. People who had defended Kody for years came forward saying they felt fooled. People who criticized the wives apologized publicly. Therapists analyzed the episode's dynamics in podcasts. Former fans wrote long posts explaining their emotional shift. For the first time, the audience wasn't divided. They were united, and they were done protecting him. That evening, an unexpected leak surfaced. An anonymous production assistant from earlier seasons gave a short statement to a small entertainment site. They claimed, "Kody's temper wasn't new. We just weren't allowed to air it. The wives protected him, the network softened him. This is the first time the truth came through." The website posted it rather quietly, but within hours, it was everywhere. Now, it wasn't just about Kody. It was about a decade of clips. fans began demanding TLC release the raw footage. They wanted a full picture of what was kept from them. They wanted transparency. They wanted justice for the wives. Petitions started circulating. By midnight, one had over 60,000 signatures. The wives saw the rising support with mixed emotions: gratitude, validation, sadness, all tangled together. They never wanted revenge. They never wanted public humiliation for Kody. They wanted peace. But peace seemed impossible now for him. And then came the interview. A reporter from a major entertainment outlet reached out to Christine directly. She wasn't planning on doing interviews. She wanted to keep her life separate from the chaos. But when the reporter explained they were focusing not on drama, but on emotional healing, she agreed to a gentle 30-minute conversation. The interview dropped the next morning. It wasn't sensational. It wasn't explosive. It was thoughtful, candid, grounded. Christine didn't attack Kody. She simply described her experience. And that hurt him far more than any accusation ever could. She said softly, "I wanted him to be happy. I wanted him to succeed. But I forgot to want those things for myself." That quote went viral. Then Janelle's interview aired. She said, "We didn't need perfection. We needed respect." That went viral too. And then Meri's moment, quiet but powerful. You can't grow inside a story that keeps shrinking you. That became the internet's favorite line. All three women spoke with grace, not vengeance, and that made their words even more devastating to Kody. By the end of the day, the network released an official statement acknowledging the wives' experiences, promising a new direction for the show, and committing to responsible storytelling that reflects the emotional realities of plural marriage. The statement did not name Kody, but it didn't need to. He felt the blow. That night, sitting alone on the couch, Kody whispered, "They're cutting me out." Robyn sat beside him, wiping more tears. I think they're giving everyone else space." He shook his head. "No, they're rewriting everything." For the first time, Robyn didn't argue. The fifth day after the episode aired was the day Kody realized the fallout wasn't coming from TLC or fans or the wives. It was coming from the people he always insisted he loved more than anything else. The people he believed would always respect him. The people he assumed would eventually come back around, forgive him, restore the image of the big, happy family he treasured in public interviews. His children. Until now, they had stayed quiet publicly. Some posted hints, some reshared clips, some supported their mothers subtly, but no one had spoken directly to him. No one reached out, no one reassured him, no one offered comfort. For years, they had carried the weight of the dynamics the world was finally seeing. Their silence wasn't new. It was learned survival. But after the episode, that silence became deliberate. On the morning of day 5, Kody checked his phone expecting something, an apology, a clarification, maybe even a show of support. But there was nothing, not a single message, not from Logan, not from Gabriel, not from Hunter, not from Mykelti, not from any of the older kids. Robyn noticed the tension in his shoulders. "Have you talked to them yet?" she asked quietly. He shook his head. "I was waiting for them to call." She swallowed. "Maybe they're waiting for you." Kody didn't respond to that. Because reaching out felt like admitting fault. It felt like acknowledging the episode wasn't edited against him. It felt like accepting that the world and his family had seen a version of him he insisted wasn't accurate, even though deep down he knew it was. By noon, the silence was broken, but not in any good way. A long, heartfelt post appeared on social media from one of his older daughters. She didn't mention Kody by name, but she didn't need to. She wrote, "Sometimes people see a moment on TV and think it's shocking, but imagine living it. Imagine being told your feelings were disrespectful. Imagine being taught to protect someone who never protected you back." That post spread like wildfire. Comment sections erupted. Fans who adored her supported her immediately. Some said they cried reading it. Others apologized for doubting her in earlier seasons. And Kody saw it all. The floor fell away beneath him. He paced the living room, muttering to himself, "They don't understand. They don't know what it was like. They're twisting everything." But even he didn't really believe that. Later that afternoon, another child posted, a son this time. Someone who once tried desperately to please Kody, who begged for time, who fought for the relationship long after it was already fractured. He wrote just one sentence: "I hope he learns to listen someday." That was it. 7 words, but they cut deeper than anything said on the internet. Kody read the sentence again and again, hands shaking. That child had never spoken publicly before. He was the quiet one, the peacemaker, the one who always urged the siblings to be patient with Kody, who told them he was trying. For that child to have said this, it meant something had come off that could not be fixed. Robyn sat down beside him slowly. "Honey, maybe you should talk to them." He shook his head. "I can't talk to them right now, not when they're attacking me on the internet." "They're not attacking you," she whispered. "They're expressing their hurt." He glared at her. "You sound like them." Her lips pursed in. He didn't apologize. At the same time, the wives saw the kids' posts and felt an ache that was complicated. Sadness, relief, pride, grief, healing, all mixed into one. Christine messaged several of her children privately, telling them she loved them and was proud of them for speaking their truth. Janelle hugged her sons tighter that night, telling them she wished she could protect them from everything. For years, the kids had been the hidden casualties of the Brown family dynamic. Viewers saw glimpses, the strained conversations, the emotional distance, the conflict around holidays, but they never saw the full picture. Now, with a single episode cracking open the door, the kids felt something they hadn't felt in years. Permission. Permission to speak. Permission to feel. Permission to stop pretending. By evening, a third child sent a very long post that surprised everybody. She wrote, "People say they're shocked, but for us, this was normal. We tried to explain it for years. We tried to fix it. We tried to make him happy. But no one can fix someone who refuses to see themselves." Kody stared at the screen so long his eyes dried out. He whispered, "Why are they doing this to me? Why now?" Robyn replied quietly, "The truth was told." He slammed his hand on the table. It wasn't the truth. It was one moment, one bad moment. She looked at him, eyes red and defeated. "It wasn't one moment, Kody. It was years of moments, years of patterns, years that they lived even when the cameras weren't around." Her words were like stones sinking into him. He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. I didn't think they saw me that way." Robyn pousticked, "They saw everything." That sentence broke him. But the final blow came after sunset. A private message appeared in his inbox from one of the children who had been estranged the longest, someone who didn't speak to him, didn't visit, didn't engage, someone he always believed would soften with time. A simple message, but a devastating one. "I'm glad the world finally saw what we lived through. I hope you get help." No anger, no insults, truth alone. Kody didn't cry. He wasn't the crying type, but something in him cracked in a way it never had before. His breath stuttered, his chest tightened, his hands trembled uncontrollably. He whispered, "They think I'm the villain." Robyn slowly shook her head. "They think you hurt them." He looked up at her with hollow eyes. "I didn't mean to." "I know," she said, "but meaning and doing are different." He swallowed hard. "You think me to be the villain?" She froze. That was the moment she feared more than any public backlash. The moment she had to choose between soothing his denial or acknowledging reality. After a long, painful silence, she whispered, "I think you lost yourself, and now everyone can see it." He stared at her as though the world was falling apart beneath him. The truth was, the episode hadn't ruined Kody's reputation. His decisions did. The episode only showed what had already been broken. That night, he sat alone outside, staring into the darkness. For the first time in years, he didn't try to justify himself. He didn't rant about loyalty. He didn't blame the wives. He didn't accuse the kids of disrespect. He just sat there, absorbing a truth he'd never thought he'd face. His wives were gone. His marriages were history. His public image was no more. Gone was his authority. And now, even the people he had thought would always come back, his children, had finally stopped protecting him. He spoke into the quiet night. "I don't even know what to do." But there was no answer. No wife to say that it would be all right. No child trying to reassure him. No camera crew waiting to film a confessional. Only silence. A silence that told him everything. This wasn't the end of an episode. This was the end of an era. And the beginning of something he could no longer control. The truth was out. The masks were gone. And Kody Brown's reputation didn't just fall. It collapsed completely in one episode that changed everything.